Design Review Board, regular meeting, Monday, January 5th, 2015. Call to order, so everyone is here except Anka Dragulski. So John will be the appointed alternate for Anka tonight. And I think that's it. Everybody else is present. So we'll start with discussion and possible action. First up, application number 14-47 of Landworks Development LLC, agent, Ensign Bickford Realty Corporation owner, for a site plan amendment for the Highcroft development on the property located at 225 and 275 Powder Forest Drive. Assessor's map F14, block 103. Oh, do I have a wrong one?
That's not on the agenda you just gave us.
It's on the last agenda.
Should be on the
Yeah.
amended one, yeah.
The one you just gave me
Hiram
didn't
hand out
have
the
it.
old one.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was
Sorry.
last year, didn't it?
Okay.
All right. So mine's still, I got the amended one. I think
Yeah.
we're still on track. All right.
Say we moved it, amended it.
Anyway, so I guess that's at Landworks. Is anyone here?
Yeah.
That's the wrong Board of Ed conference room. That's where we usually have the engineering meetings. I had to give Ed staff multiple copies of the exhibit for tonight. I don't know, has it been handed out yet?
You sent it to everybody.
Okay. The
I didn't print everything because
hard copy.
Is it the old one? John?
You're a hunter?
No, I gave them to.
Where? I mean,
Wherever I can.
Oh, really?
I printed this off the website. It's the only one I brought though, because usually,
Oh, yeah, that's hard.
Why don't you go ahead and start? I'll
You know what, we made like 4
guys see
copies now,
this?
just in case.
Pardon?
did you guys see this
These
on the
spaces.
website?
I didn't get it.
Gun or bow, or both? Both?
Oh, there, he's got
Looking for
big
places
handout.
if you know anywhere.
Yeah.
We can pass one
This
around or
was
two.
sent,
That's
I think,
fine.
Last Monday.
There was a bunch of stuff online I was having trouble with.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can share.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, perfect.
And this one, I have to go. Is this one? Show the comparisons.
But you're a regular in here.
yeah.
Oh, I got that one.
That's
That's the one I printed. Yep.
Yeah.
Last time.
Yeah. So there must be
Yep.
what are you doing different?
So at the last meeting, Ron Janesco, Landworks Development, Chris Nelson was with me, my development partner, and we've got Andy and Gus from EB here as well. At the last meeting, you looked favorably on the site plan package in general, and we said that you would take your questions and comments to heart when we come back with some answers. You had questions on exterior light fixtures. And we said, well, we hadn't thought about it, but it'd probably be similar to what we used over at Mill Commons and Mill Pine Crossing.
Okay.
And we decided, yes, that is still the current best fixture. It's a cast aluminum, high quality Kichler. We can fit it with compact fluorescent, or now LED is becoming more of an option. So that's shown on the 11 by 7 scene exhibit on the right side. Then you asked about the colors, and originally we had given kind of a palette, but we said, you know what, we'll give it a little more thought, because at Mill Commons and Mill Pine Crossing, we did mix it up. We didn't use the same color for every building. We used 3 or 4 colors, and we tried to mix it up a little bit. In this case, we thought long and hard about the concept of the development. We're trying to get a little more arts and crafts feel. It's a heavily wooded perimeter on that site with beautiful large hardwoods and some pine. So instead of the tricolor or quad color, which we kind of showed in the preliminary and also the original submission, we showed some examples. We said, no, you know what? Let's keep the textures rich. So we have this Simsbury brownstone. We have the cedar impressions, which we talked about last time. And just to if you want to take a look at that. There's a couple of pieces of it just to, we figured between the horizontal and the texture of the stone and the texture of the cedar impressions, that was enough going on the building. And so we did narrow it down to those colors. And then on page 2 of the 2-page exhibit, you'll see where we plan to mix it up. And this was not random, it was just thought through. We kind of picked the color we thought was best for the clubhouse, put that at the top of the hill of the clubhouse. Then that, we didn't want to put the same color next to it, so we then kind of skipped around and built from the clubhouse and worked outwards from there. We used the darker colors, more earth tones, tried to stay away from the whites and the light colors, pastels. So the new exhibit, which just went around electronically or on the website, is a 8.5 by 11, and that kind of shows the progression of where we started. Then we kind of got a little funny with light colors and maybe too many colors, and then where we ended up at the bottom. The bottom one doesn't look as good as it should because there's no trees sketched on it, but at least that shows you the real dimensions and proportions, and it also shows you, there was some comment about take a look at the front elevation, something looked a little off and maybe we could enhance it. And sure enough, some of the windows on the left and the right side of the building had gone from regular size to square, little square windows. So there's a lot of siding there for not a lot of window area. So what we did is we reintroduced the bigger window, and that will be in a kitchen on the upstairs and in the garage on the main floor. So those were really, you know, I'll keep it short and sweet because I'm out of breath. But that was pretty much, I think, what you wanted us to do a little more homework on. And, you know, we went back and 2 weeks later, with all the experience we've had here, some of
For the area that's on the right here, that's the same sort of color palette, or that's a different color?
Yes, in a response to staff, I mentioned that I don't want to identify yet exactly which ones are where.
Okay,
But what I'd like to do is use the same palette, same.
in the same sort of mix.
Same, mix it up, but because there's some flexibility of we might have first floor living, we might have split buildings, you know, the site plan is going to be flexible that way, that I think each one wants to almost be like a custom home where we, okay, this one we're splitting the building and we're adding the first floor living onto it. This really wants to be this color, and then we
Okay.
build from there. So that's in our official proposal with the site plan package.
Okay.
This is the stone. Most of you have probably seen us pass this around before, but this is that, came out right out of West Street, and
Real stone.
it's right out of the ground, and they break
Brownstone, of course.
break
Everything's
it
brownstone.
into boulders and then smaller rocks, and then they have the big deli slicer machine that slices it just like you see here. So that's a corner, and we use corners everywhere where there should be a corner. We don't cheat where, you know, you take 2 flats and have to go to the
Cornerstone.
corner.
Sure. Yeah.
And then someone asked about the roofing. So this is an actual sample.
Well, yeah, but I want
It's just a basic generic weathered wood, which is kind of fairly neutral, and it'll go with all of these different siding colors.
Got some questions?
question. You know, my favorite topic.
The garage doors, it's on there.
No, I see that. And I understand that the renderings can be different. So what you're showing me here is really different between them. And I would hope that your intent is, as you're getting the colors, that that this garage door business more reflects this. Color.
Absolutely, and even the veins of the stone, it's amazing, like when they start putting it up, you get pinkers,
Yeah.
then you get darkers, and then you get some with the whites in it. So we will pick a garage door color, and I committed again in the email to Hiram that at this point, sample to sample, that looks like the best match. When we actually go to securing the contract to put the doors in, we'll get as close as possible. Over at the Mill Commons, that's actually called, I think, the medium bronze garage doors. It's a pretty good match. This is brown on paper and
Yeah.
little samples. It looks a little closer, but we will definitely pick the right one.
Otherwise, looks good to me.
So, we talked about color at the last meeting, and I know I was at the last meeting, so I recall our question was, what are you doing for color? I don't recall us saying, we don't like the colors you're using. Is that a different recollection than other people have? Because I'll be honest, my reaction to this is that I think the concern at the time, at least when I brought up color, was that they not be all of the same family of color, that there be enough distinction building to building. And so when you showed this, I thought, oh, great, three different, completely different palettes. But that's actually not what you're doing. You're showing a progression. So instead of, say, having, you know, some buildings that are this and some buildings that are this, you basically, we're talking about this palette, this family of color. Am I here understanding correctly? Because these are all, to me, pretty much in the same family of color, which means you've got however many buildings they are, all in the same family of color.
I thought that this was reactive to what the question was. And I don't want to mix light colors in with dark colors. I've just not had good experience as a developer and someone selling and leasing the product. I feel that this earthy tones, warm colors, not cool colors, are what people building, custom homes, small homes, the homes that we're selling, the townhomes, these are the colors that people warm up to. I don't want one to stand out more than the other. I want them all to complement each other. So, maybe it's just me, but having done this for a while, this is what we felt was the right product and the right mixture of colors and textures. The brownstone ties everything together. The greens tie
Those are the
everything
four
together.
colors down there, like the actual colors, because it's hard to tell here, but they're a little more different in real life. They're still in the same family, but
I mean, the things that are
They're
missing
okay.
are yellow, white, blue,
Yeah.
green,
Pink.
and red. But you know what, and I said this at the last meeting, at Mill Commons, we tried the greenish tone and we tried the bluish tone, and they kind of fought with the brownstone. They're up, but we're not gonna change it, and we're happy with that. That's a more urban mix. Here, we're more in the woods, it's a more suburban location, and I think that these four colors work well together. And it's what we would propose.
Well, I think what we should be looking at, we the board, is this consistent with our guidelines and the sense of our guidelines? And these colors, in my judgment, do. The trouble with just, with art and architecture, we can argue back and forth about, well, this is the appropriate color, that is not, this is the appropriate trim, that is not. In a case like this, to me, I would be looking for, is it consistent or is it inconsistent with the plan? And as far as I'm concerned, it's consistent.
We did, again, we saw a lot of contrast with the brownstone with light colored sidings that just didn't work. Brownstone buildings, and we have our office in one, the middle building, which we renovated, is all brownstone. So there's no siding that kind of comes right up to it. Here, with the darker colors and not on the blue hints or not on the green hints, I thought would do nicely together.
and what color are the windows?
The window trim will be a creamy white.
Yeah, I agree with John. I think the colors are consistent. I think the four of them make a nice palette up here in the woods with the trees. I think with brownstone, each one of them is going to pop differently. With the white trim, you're going to have some nice palettes up there. So I'm okay with them colors as well.
The shingles are the same, although they're shingles, they're the same as the siding.
Well, it's
Yeah,
that-
the
It's that textured product.
Right,
Okay.
the Cedar Impressions type product would be.
But it's
the
these
But it's the same,
colors.
same palette as those.
Same color.
Yeah, not
same
changed,
color.
yeah.
So if there's natural clay, horizontal siding, there'd be a natural clay.
Okay.
It's not an exact color match, but they would be color matched. And again, we experimented with one color shingles here, then a different color siding here, and the brownstone there, and even on the bigger building, two different siding colors, plus a different, and it just got to be too much. So,
It does illustrate the disadvantage of trying to do it with this, because when you lay them out on the floor, they look
They look good.
A lot different, yeah.
A
It's
lot
not
different,
better.
yeah.
Rachel printed off some of these exhibits, and she's like, they're not looking, maybe it's our printer versus your printer. So I printed some, and someone here at the last meeting said, or she said, can you bring some samples? And I was like, oh, we usually do, but for some reason we didn't. So there they are.
This is also the worst lighting in existence.
Yeah.
To look at color.
No, but it is a better statement to see it in
It's not
person.
corrected LED.
And I like the window changes as well, the little windows to the full windows. I think that'll be nicer in the kitchens and a little more, just a little more vertical. I'm okay with it.
It's nice. It's nice.
Good.
Yep, I'm fine.
You guys have any other questions?
Happy with
John, you okay? You have any other questions?
No, it made a big difference to see the actual samples, frankly. I mean, I didn't see them over there, but it's a lot different than looking at this, so I'm okay
Yeah,
with
these look
that.
very monotone, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
that bad.
Yeah, that made,
And the
yeah,
By
roof
having them
and-
out here, you can see almost, you can mix three of them on one building.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
it's
that's a
okay.
little
Yep.
bit much, so.
So I'm okay.
All right, so does anybody want to make a motion to approve?
Okay, good. Just one question.
Yes.
Ron, on your sheets, you had a lighting fixture that was a little different than the one that's shown in the design guidelines. Any chance of using the one that's in the design guidelines?
I don't know that that exists in the LED product line. I mean, I looked at what Beacon has, and again, we've
Any of
shopped
these?
all kinds of fixtures. Lumec is one that we've used, Beacon is another. Beacon has become our favorite because it's got a nice price point for the quality. And Beacon doesn't really have a fixture just like that. I mean,
What page is that on, Hiram?
I'll ask them.
On page 18, there's a standard sort of Simsbury fixture, which is used along Hot Meadow in some places, and some places they're there, some places they're not.
But it's
Just
close.
possible to use
Is it
that.
close?
It's not
It's
available.
really close.
Yeah.
It's not exact, but it's.
When we picked that Beacon, there was limited LED options. This is something that's nationally and internationally probably pretty close standard. It's not New England colonial, it's
Yeah,
kind of
it's very
Victorian.
close from what I can
It's
see.
close.
It's a good point though, Hiram, because maybe we need to add, some additional fixtures to the guidelines
Yeah, so-
now that we're getting more and more LEDs on the market.
There's, on California Drive, there are, basically like a mixture, there's shoe boxes, there's acorns. We're using that Victorian fixture in
It's okay.
Carson Way because
Well,
it's similar to an
okay.
acorn. It's an acorn with a top on it.
Consistent.
So this was trying to be a nice decorative fixture.
Oh, you're right.
And
the
these will
same
be used
family of
throughout that whole area?
Well,
On
that's
all your
basically-
various sites?
Yep.
Townhomes and the
Okay.
apartments.
And this is also used at
It's
Carson
okay.
Way, did you say?
That is the
Yeah,
exact
that's
fixture.
that's really close to.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to see? No, you're good.
If
We do
we,
have the fluted with the base in there, which we're using again at other places.
we're going back to the same word, consistent. And while it's not exactly and your plan here is self-contained, if you will. So in my judgment, again, it's consistent with the rest of the lighting around town, the Simsbury light, et cetera, et cetera. So I couldn't object to what you're presented here on that basis. Again, it's not inconsistent.
Yeah, and I'm not particularly, I would not be fond of having the same light all over Simsbury. You know, it's got to be somewhat same family, but not necessarily the same light. Because that is a neighborhood. That'll be a distinct neighborhood, and someone will say, where do you live? And they live in that neighborhood.
Town center's a unique spot.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Brick walks and,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I think we're okay with it. It's close enough and it's in the same consistent family and, okay. Good. Any other comments? Good?
Make a motion?
Yep.
Madam Chairman, I move that the application 14-47 of Landworks Development LLC agent, Ensign Bickford Realty Corporation, owner of the site plan amendment for the Highcroft development on the property located at 225 and 275 Powder Forest Drive, Assessors Map F14, Block 103, Lot 005-5, Zone PAD, be approved with no modifications.
Great.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
To add, if I could, Ron, those are based on the plans dated 12/29/14 last day, correct?
yes,
Yes.
and then, one exhibit, dated today, January 5, that's that new one.
But this is just an exhibit of the 3 different iterations you went through, right?
Yeah, kind of showing the process,
Yeah.
but then the bottom one is the
Is end one,
It's
okay.
the end one, and then there's kind of a little Y at the bottom.
All right, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Thank you
All
very
set.
much.
Thank you.
I see Carson Way has people living in it already.
Yeah, I know. More to come too.
Okay, that's good. All of a sudden, there's lights out there in the desert.
Thankfully, they're energy efficient.
All right, next up, we have application number 14-49 of Ed Lally and Associates, Inc., agent, Asian Relish LLC owner, for the site plan amendment and sign permit portions of the application on the property located at 570 to 572 Hot Meadow Street. Map G12, Block 132, Lot 038, Zone B1.
There are actually 2 applications that are on adjacent properties. And if we could present them together and then vote separately, it would be better use of everyone's time.
There we go, good.
Just lay it right down in the middle.
Yeah.
Just lay it right in the middle.
Boy, that looks similar.
No, huh?
And the 3 sidings are the same color.
Exactly. I was looking at their drawing and the colors. It's the same building.
See, everybody renders brownstone differently. Look at all the different colors brownstone.
No, ours is not quite as reddish. It's a little bit lighter in tone, but it's still really stone. Good evening. Happy New Year. My name's Ed Lally. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor. And I'm Craig from Associated Architects and James, who owns Han Restaurant, owns the Green Tea Restaurant facility. He's about to own the Green Tea restaurant building, and is proposing a new building adjacent to the Green Tea building, just to the south on 568 Hot Meadow Street. Green Tea being 570 Hot Meadow Street. When we were here before, we looked at these buildings, and you had some comments. We had initial meetings with staff, and this is the street side of the building, and we introduced the false peak here, and some trim boards, and moved the windows around to create a better streetscape. This would be the northern face of the building with the entrance, which is off to the side. And then the Green Tea building was proposed to have part of its roof removed Right now, the Green Tea building is, has this roof line throughout with some windows that are just something to break up the roof. We're proposing to remove part of that, remove the current overhang and put an overhang with the same general architectural feature, same dimension as on the new building. There'll be a new entranceway accentuating the entrance, drawing you visually and welcoming you into the Green Tea. And the existing entrance is here and will remain. A new door will be placed in here, and there'll be an external dining terrace on the west side of the Green Tea building, just like there is proposed a new dining terrace on the north side of the new building. The name Green Tea will probably be abandoned as a new name because it's going to have completely new menu, completely new interior, completely new exterior, reconstructed parking lot, new landscaping. It's going to be as though we're totally recreated, so they're going to have a new name. The name hasn't been chosen, so we're proposing to have Green Tea Restaurant, or new name, whatever it is, on the face of this building in that location. The new restaurant will have its name also near its entrance. That area is a little bit smaller, the text and the script will be a little bit smaller, but here we've used the same name for now, Green Tea. There was a question as to what would the other side of the building look like? And I don't have a colored rendering, but I can tell you that the textures and materials will be carried around the building using the same stone, same siding, same shingles. If I can find that plan.
Two more. Keep going.
Oop, this is the second floor, I'll get there. This would be the colored rendering you just saw, only this is in black and white, showing the streetscape and the north face of the building. And then these are the other two faces where we're wrapping the material, the facade board, the roof shingles would be all the same, the stonework would be all the same. This is the south side of the building, which faces the, which will be just off the property line of the adjacent building to our south, which is predominantly a brick structure. And then the Green Tea, of course, you saw the colored rendering of that. And this would be the other two sides of the Green Tree to bring the stonework, the new shingles on the roof, the new siding, all the way around, so that the color palette, the exterior treatment of the building will be consistent on all the sides.
And the entrance to the new building faces east.
If this is Hot Meadow Street, this is the existing entrance to the Green Tree parking lot, which is just paved from off our site to the southern part, and from the street, with the exception of an island, off, and actually off our site to the east onto the adjacent property. Green Tea's entrance is currently right here, and this entrance, there will be a paver patio coming off of this patio that's along the front, existing along the front of the Green Tea, and those pavers will come into the new entrance of the existing building, which is sort of like tucked away from
It's
Hot Meadow
facing
Street.
There's no parking in the corner there.
Here?
No, above it. Yeah, there.
Here? This is a proposed parking area,
It is.
Yes.
As well as in the front.
as well as here, and through here, and in through here.
And you get to that back parking by going over the pavers?
You come, yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay, and we wanted a textural and a visual difference to let people know there's a walk there, and, you know, besides coming in, the route is a little bit serpentine, people will be driving slowly, and then there's parking in the back, and there's a way to exit for delivery vehicles, emergency vehicles, etc. Currently, all deliveries to the existing building are at this location, and delivery vehicle can come in and then exit. Deliveries to this building will be off hours, the vehicle will come in here, and then there's an at-grade entrance into the building for deliveries. The question that we had last time was predominantly what do the other sides of the building look like? What is your lighting and what are your landscaping going to be? What we've done is we've taken a look at some existing trees that will remain along the boundaries of the site and adjacent properties. We've added a row of street trees, and these are going to be taller deciduous street trees just on our property so that we control them, we maintain them, and the state won't be having anything to do about that. There are flowering trees proposed in different places around the site. A low hedge crossed here to provide a little privacy for the dining area. There's a low hedge to match that hedge in this area. We have landscape plantings along the sides, flowering crabapple trees typical, and then there's a list of spruce, azalea, low yews, and other plantings in these areas, flowering tree here, etc. This currently is just pavement to pavement. We're going to be cutting the pavement 6 inches off the property line, actually a foot 6 inches off the property line, and putting a curb on our site. The water currently sheds in this direction, so that water will come down here and go into a double catch basin. The stormwater is by infiltration system across the front of the building and across the rear of the building. And we have reduced significantly the amount of runoff that leaves our site from current conditions, even though we're having some rooftop and some pavement.
Now, currently, your driveway extends into the next door property, right?
This pavement is contiguous.
Yes,
across
okay,
here.
yeah.
And we're introducing a strip of green
Okay.
throughout this area. Our pavement also extends onto property to the east of us. When that area was paved, no one really knew where the property line was, and so they went 7 to 8 feet over. And we're proposing, our site preparation plan shows the saw cut and removal of all that material. We have, TJ Baresi from our office has been tasked with getting in touch with the adjacent property owner, but due to the holidays and our office being closed down for most of the last 2 weeks, we haven't accomplished that, but we will before the planning meeting, which is February 2nd. The
Whose
so we hope to get written
whose
for-
property is that back there?
Pardon?
That's not Ensign Bigford, is it?
It's owned by
Say they just
Simsbury
left.
Hot Meadow- It's owned by Simsbury Hot Meadow Street LLC, whoever that is. It's an EV.
Yeah, okay.
I think of some.
Okay.
of some
It is
sort.
Ensign Bigford. okay.
Dino.
Yeah, it's like Dino or whoever it is.
Grabbed him.
Dino. But in any case, we'd like to talk to them about, reassure them about our drainage. Talk to them about giving us written permission to remove pavement that a predecessor entitled inadvertently put on their property, and loaming and seeding and restoring that area. And we'd also like to talk about the possibility of tying the bike path into this site. And we are very desirous of doing that if that can be accomplished. In accordance with that, we have a bike rack proposed as central to our property in a place where it would be easy and convenient to put a bike and walk into either of the two restaurants. The lighting is similar to, not necessarily identical to, the town standard. Again, we chose something, if I can find it, that we're familiar with, that we like, as did the last applicant. It has a precast base. There's a fluted base and then a pole. It's about 12 feet tall to a dark sky compliant fixture that is somewhat colonial in appearance, with its lighting element up above, but what you see visually is a little glass globe as though it were gaslit, but it doesn't have a light source here that emanates out. The light source is up above.
And it's LED?
Pardon?
Is it LED?
I'm not sure if that's available. We will definitely look into that. Because
Well, if
the
not, you can
overall-
use this one right here. That we all like, we just approved.
If you could send us that, we'll definitely consider that, but, this is a light that we like that.
This one?
that
That
is
one,
used
yeah.
in Windsor. It's a standard, it's very high quality, light. In fact, some of our customers say it's a bit expensive, so maybe the better price point one is more desirable. But in any case, we've modified our landscaping plan and added quite a few proposed trees. The idea, of course, is we're narrowing down, as I stated last time, we're narrowing down our entranceway. We're proposing an island in the center. We're bringing our pavement away from the property line here, here, and here, and here. We're taking the pavement out that runs right up against the building and putting in pavement there. Our dumpster, which I believe I submitted details to you last time.
Yeah.
I think that was in there too, yeah.
Was proposed to
Stone
be
enclosure.
the same stone masonry facility, large enough. We've talked to the local haulers, and they've given us the desired sizes for 2 dumpsters and a grease recycle separator. Speaking of which, there's a grease separator, external grease separator on the sewer line, all the other technical things that are necessary. But this has the same stone as the building apron, and basically can't see it from the street. You have to walk behind the building to see it. And the only other aspect was the proposed sign. We had made an application for a 50-foot sign to the zoning board, but we have actually 32 feet. And so, and we made a 50-foot sign application for each of the 2 properties, which would be a total 100 square feet. We have 32 feet on either side. Again, we'll have the same stone base. The graphic and the logo hasn't been selected exactly, but there'd be one for, this says our restaurant, your restaurant. There'd be one name for each of the restaurants and one logo for each of the restaurants. So you have one sign drawing into the one entrance to the 2 facilities.
And where is that sign on the site plan?
Yes, the sign is shown near where the existing sign is. It's going to be
That's where it is now.
moved back a little bit because the existing sign was inadvertently placed over the state highway line. The existing sign is in this location, but it's 2 feet towards
Okay,
the state.
plus or minus
So
the
we're
same
pushing it back.
spot.
So it's definitely on our property, not on the state's property. And then
Your
again,
new, your new trees aren't gonna obscure the sign at all?
Pardon?
Your new trees are not gonna obscure the sign?
These are tall deciduous trees, and they will have, their lowest branch will be above the sign. So as you're driving up the street, the lowest branch, you'll, I mean, for now we'll have this, and later we'll have that, but it'll be, not a lot of confusion as to where
The
we
sign be lighted?
It's a halo lit letters. The logo's called out as being halo lit, so backlit.
It's not like a plastic sign that's illuminated on the inside. Nor is it got indirect lighting that shines up on it, so that when you're driving down the road, you get the opposite side flood in your face. It's
So just the halo lit
Just halo
logos?
lit logos.
on the stone base.
And this is not real brownstone, it's just.
That
this
is real brownstone.
It is real brownstone, oh, okay.
It's cut thin and applied like a cast stone product, but it's real brownstone.
You identify that the new building as Phase 2.
Correct.
Now, is Phase 2 part of Phase 1?
Now, well, phase 1 is all the work necessary to rehabilitate, reconstruct, and revise the parking lot. The revising the parking lot consists of the grinding of the entire surface and not milling it, but grinding it so that it becomes part of the base. And then 3 inches of pavement on top of that, so that we end up with, if you look at the grading plan, you'll see that the proposed contours are just a tiny bit higher than the existing contours, because we're taking that material and processing it into our base to give us more base.
So the new parking lot in the back is part of phase 1?
That's phase 1.
Oh, okay.
All right, now, my question really is does Phase 2 immediately follow the finish of Phase 1?
I hate to be wise, but I'm not sure what immediately is. I believe 1 is 1 year and 1's the next.
Well, all right. Now, put your hand up there where you showed us. Okay, now, so the green, what is now I call the Green Tree Building, and the area in front of it and behind it will be operating when it's finished, and what's to the right where your arm is not.
Right, and the construction entrance on our construction sequence plan is in this location where there is an existing driveway. And they will be going in and working from the back of the site, bringing this site up to grade and putting in all the utilities. Then they will be building the foundation, then they will abandon that, bring that in, and the last thing is on some early morning hour, they're gonna come in and pave this small parking lot.
Well, all right.
There's an extremely lengthy phase 1, phase 2 construction sequence that anticipates that.
But they will follow in reasonable
Reasonable length of time, yes.
Yes, okay. Not 2 or 3 years later?
No.
All right.
But we need to do one thing and have it done.
No, I
We need to do
understand.
this thing and have it done. And so there's actually phase lines on the plan that even address the flow of surface water, so that the phase line doesn't create a problem when you go to do phase 2, or if phase 1 is there for, and existed for 3 months before phase 2 is paid, or 4 months or 6 months before phase 2 is paid. So this has been thought out fairly well.
I just wanted to have that on the record.
Thank you.
So
It
Hiram,
is a written part of our plan.
Hiram, just looking at the proposed building versus the existing building, which is to the south. I think that's south. They look awfully close. 8 feet to the property line, and then
It's tight, no question.
we're okay with that.
It does work.
Does that fit? That fits within our guidelines. I trust. I didn't look at it, so I
It does, and the applicant did mention that they did go to ZBA and receive a number of variances as well. I don't know if you want to talk about those at all later or not, but.
I mean, if you're saying that it does, I'm satisfied. I just want to make sure that that's not a problem for phase 2.
We actually went to ZBA, had a hearing, received a significant amount of very valuable input, came back and went to modify our application, found that we couldn't modify our application and include all the things that the commission had, that the zoning board of appeals had discussed. Of course, they didn't say do this or do that, they just were concerns. So in addressing them, my client went out and entered a contract to purchase this property and came back to the zoning board of appeals with this, essentially this plan, not as much landscaping and no drainage, but essentially this plan, and received variances to allow it to happen.
Okay.
And that wall is a fully fire-rated wall, meets all building code requirements, and
Yeah, I'm more worried about the water runoff because it seems with the grading, it seems that we're pushing that water from Hot Meadow Street down and against that building and then to the back.
Absolutely. Town engineers can take a hard look at that between now and the zoning meeting, absolutely.
And we gave the town a before drainage area map and an after drainage area map, using all the appropriate soils types for runoff coefficients, proper times of concentration, proper surface materials as existed and do exist out there based on an actual survey. And then we calculated the flow, not just does it work, but what is the current flow onto this abutter, what is the current flow onto this abutter, what is the current flow onto the street. There is no current flow here, we take his water. And what happens with all this, what is the pre-condition, the post-condition? I think the drainage report is about half an inch thick, and the summary, hardly a summary, but it's an analysis and summary, which is 3 or 4 pages long, and contains a chart, and it addresses not only the rate of flow, but the volume of water, because rate of flow is one thing, but volume of water is also an important factor. The town's regulations say you can't increase the rate of flow onto the abutter. We went one step further. We didn't increase the volume of water onto the abutter. And we looked at a 30-hour rainstorm. So it's like starts off as a drizzle and builds up and then tapers off and runs. And we analyzed the entire rainfall.
Excellent.
I'm sure your town engineer will.
No, I just want to make sure that was addressed. I think that's okay.
So what are the two separate because there's 2 applications, same thing. So is one for the sign and one is for,
They're actually two separate buildings originally were on.
There are
oh,
two
one is
properties
for the green tea and then one is for the phase 2?
This is by Asian Relish. They're the applicant on that green tea. And then the new building, it's Chenango Realty LLC.
Originally.
They have to be husband and wife, but because of liability issues, financing issues, et cetera, we have to have two properties, 2 applications.
Okay.
And we, just for clarification, we submitted 2 applications for a sign because this is a little bit unusual. We have 2 signs on one property, no sign on the other property, but
it's one
this
big
does have a
sign.
sign.
It's just one
It's
big
over
sign.
here. So we paid a little extra fee or whatever, we just wanted to cover our bases.
Were you going to talk about these color samples that you brought, or is that part of?
We did last time, but we're happy to review them again. Craig, you want to give a little rundown on what we're using and why, where?
Were you here for the first one? Is that before our time?
Yeah.
Basically, we've gone through the colors. We're looking at obviously the brownstone for the base. We're gonna have, again, sort of cedar impression type vinyl shake up in the eaves, and pretty much this is our color that we're looking at for it. And then as far as the vinyl goes, it's a double 5-inch clapboard. And the color we're going with, unfortunately, I don't have a large sample of, but it was this one. Huh? Yeah, so I don't know if you want to pass it around. It's the off-tail.
So fairly consistent with the drawing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And the drawing shows the trim and the railings all of a similar non-white color. Is
yeah,
that the intent?
Yeah, that's our intent. The windows, we're assuming will go with the Terratone, vinyl clad type window. So it'll have a tone that's pretty much on with our trim colors.
And the pergola is actually wood,
It's an actual wood pergola.
painted wood, or just a
I-
stained
We're
wood?
gonna leave it, right now, we have it slated to leave it as a natural cedar, leather.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
And then the roofing colors.
Well, I think it'll be a big improvement to what's there now. Although it is one of my favorite establishments,
Places,
so
yeah, I know. Go
hopefully
there
you
all
won't
the
get rid of the
time.
firecracker chicken, because that's one of my favorites.
Senior
Better be back on the new menu.
I know.
Is there any other questions you have on colors, or?
Looks nice. You guys have any comments?
Pardon?
You have any comments?
I think it was good to start with.
Excellent. So can we make a motion to approve both of these at the same time, or do we have to make two separate motions, one for each one?
Unless there's any distinguishing characteristics between the two, if you make the motion of both of them at the same time, that's fine, as long as they're clearly included, that's fine.
I think that originally the applicant submitted two separate ones.
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter to us, as long as he has approval. But might there be wording that allows us to use either our selected light or an alternate that's consistent with the board's previous approval?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think just as long as whatever light you choose, you'll just send it back through Hiram, who will send it back through me, and we'll just administratively approve it, making sure.
Okay. I mean, it would either be the one we have, but then again, if that's not LED, the operating cost over its life it's expensive. LED is the way to go. Now they have reasonable tone to that light.
Yeah.
Before it was
It's
harsh.
big.
It was horrible originally.
Horrible, yeah.
Everybody's doing it.
But, thank you very much.
Great.
Sure, so whichever way you choose to do it, it's fine.
All right.
It's sort of hard to separate them in a way. It's like
Yeah.
the grading and everything is all part of one plan, so.
I agree. I think it can be one. So, someone want to make a motion for approval on item B and C?
I'll do it.
Madam Chairman, I move that the applications 14-49 and 14-50 of Ed Lowry and Associates Asian Relish LLC, owner of site plan amendment and sign permit portion application of the property located at 572 Hot Meadow Street, and Agent Chow and Guy Realty LLC, owner of the site plan amendment and sign permit portion of the application on the property located at 568 Hot Meadow Street, be approved as submitted. And that's as of a plan dated
I think it's June
6/24.
24.
June 24th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ours are December 19th,
December 19th?
which are a little different than the architecturals.
Yeah, if you
Okay,
look at
December
the
19th,
like that, ours is a-
2014.
Did we want to amend that to include the lighting?
Yes.
Amended to allow the applicant to change the lighting submitted to conform with.
Approval from
Approval from
Hiram.
staff.
That's amended, so amended.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so approved.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Now, you're gonna hold them?
When are you gonna start? I'm gonna hold them to having firecracker chicken on the menu. And when are you gonna start? June? Yeah, I know, right? Can you put that in the minutes now?
Firecracker chicken.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
I usually go to Granby.
You're welcome. Very good.
I was excited when I
Exciting.
saw that one.
No, I'm excited for the outdoor seating and the
Yeah.
new restaurant and it'll be great.
That place right now is like,
I know. I went there Christmas Eve, by the way. I had dinner there. It's our holiday tradition. We go to green tea every year for Christmas Eve. And it was packed.
Thank you, guys.
you're welcome.
But it is outdated, so this is exciting. All right, that's it. Correspondence announcements.
Anything new, Hiram?
I think that, as you know, the 690 Hot Meadows, the former Webster Bank building, is moving forward. They just got a little wetlands issue they're dealing with, but that'll be back to the zoning commission.
It was in the paper today, I think, isn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, they did that. They also called us about articles on the pool barn application, the convenience store pool barn in the south end, so on. Interestingly enough, as soon as that appeared in the paper, somebody called me and wanted to know the owner's name so that they could get one of the apartments, so those things tend to.
We're at the Webster Bank or the pool? Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
so,
Great.
Tell them how much?
I have no idea. I don't think.
Too much.
Million
Gonna screw up our
dollars.
parking for Simsbury Celebrates
I'll
though.
leave the speaker shack thing up to the realtors, they can deal
You
with
gotta
it.
find a friend that moves there so
I
you
know.
can park there and walk.
So that's moving forward. It's our understanding too that the Big Y property is finally closed and was filed with the town clerk, and they should be starting in the springtime as well.
Oh,
I think
jeez.
what they have always said is that they need to be open by October of the year that they start. So I suspect that if they start February, March, whatever, they should be easily in place by October for their fall season. So hopefully that'll move forward fairly quickly. I also think it's pretty certain that as soon as that starts, there'll be some other things in that same general area that will start up, that will really serve as kind of a focal point for a lot of things that are gonna happen up in that area. So we feel pretty comfortable with that. A number of people want to come in and talk about it.
Things we haven't seen yet.
Correct, I haven't seen them either. I just know that people have said, as soon as this goes forward, starts, then I'll be in to talk to you. So other things that we think will work well, and obviously, hopefully, with your assistance, be well-designed. So we try to move that forward as well. So things are moving along and keeping busy.
What's the story on Vincent's Sports Shop?
On the front that they took off,
Excuse me.
On what,
we talked to them as soon as it came down, because we didn't get any indication that it was going to come down. They said that they would come in and talk to us as soon as they figured out how they were going to redo the front of it. So actually, I have a meeting tomorrow with one of the owners, and as soon as I find out, I'll be back to you with.
Did they take it down because it was rotted or it fell down or
I
something
think that's what
happened?
they said to us. I just would have really appreciated a heads up, because I think it's such a sort of a unique structure, and that building is in so many old pictures of the town. It's really kind of a nifty old building with that sort of porch.
are they aware of that?
Well, they certainly are after we called them. We called them the day they took it down. We can hopefully get them to do something
No,
equally
this
as.
morning, excuse me, this morning on the Today Show, I saw a very interesting program. The guy that has written this series of books, The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, has moved to a town near Brockton, Mass, Plainville. And he's made so much money, he's taken it upon himself to redevelop the downtown. And my recollections of Plainville, Mass was a pit, but he's building some magnificently significant architectural structures that are consistent with the period of the 1800s when the town, I don't know if somehow you could go back and see the Today Show this morning, but the architecture and the detail.
So Paul, you planning on revitalizing downtown?
Well, I mean, there's a standard, you know. Years ago, when I fought the battles with the planning board in Nantucket, they had this phrase that everything that was built must be consistent with the year 1840, which was the year of the Great Fire on Nantucket, in which everything was level. So everything, the standard was set when Nantucket was rebuilt. And I thought, it was the first thing I thought of when I saw this thing in Plainville. This guy, in essence, on his own, has done exactly the same thing. Whatever the magic year in Plainville, Mass, when it was a booming, mill town. But I look at Vincent's Sports Shop and I'm thinking, is somebody gonna do something significant? New England storefront? Are we gonna be presented with something significant? Because that's one of the last few buildings in the center of town in which something significant can happen to.
Yeah.
It may not be in their budget, I don't know.
I don't know.
But we're gonna have to approve something.
Yeah, we'll find out shortly. That's all I can say. We've been after them ever since they tore it down to come in and talk to us. They promised they would, so we're hopeful that that'll happen.
Well,
very shortly.
all they had to do is get an exploratory permit, right, and tear the porch down, and they didn't.
Yeah, I actually talked to the building department. They didn't even know it was coming down either, so
And they would have needed a permit to take it down?
I think so.
They should have had a permit to take it down, sure.
Yeah.
They used to call them exploratory.
Yeah, now whether there was any structural issues there or not, or whether it was truly rotted, I don't know.
It wasn't imminent. There was time for a phone call.
If it was imminent, you could have still made a phone call.
Exactly.
Hey, can the inspector come take a peek at this? I think we have a problem. Goes a long way.
Well, certainly expressed it in the fact that the
Well,
board
it's
is
always
concerned about it.
easier to
because it's
say,
a
"I'm
unique
sorry" than
building.
that.
Who's
Right.
the owner of that building?
Vincent.
Still, yeah.
All right, we have to, unless you have anything else, Hiram,
Yep.
approve the meeting minutes from December 15th. Does anybody have any comments on them?
Nope.
We're good to go, so,
Motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Crickets? No. All right, minutes are approved. That's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
Nice 1 hour meeting, I love that.
Look at that, that's good for us. Yeah, we're getting better.